Hello, and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve, and a Happy New Year to all of you out there. I hope the festive period was full of good food, good company, and that you've all recovered from your New Year's Eve activities. Today is my team selection video for Gameweek 20, which will include what to do with Rodgers, who managed to get himself suspended in game week 19, the last game week in which he could have got suspended for his fifth yellow card. Whether or not I'm going to buy Trent Alexander-Arnold or look to get Konate in. We'll also take a quick look at how I did in game week 19, where my 4.6% differential of Martinelli came through for me. But unfortunately, that wasn't quite enough for a green arrow, as I did miss my safety score by a mere 4 points to start off 2025. So, with that being said, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, especially if you get any value out of the following content. Right, so game week 19 review. To catch you up to speed, I brought Robinson into the team in game week 19 to preserve the loss of value on Pedro Porro, who I have been talking about on the channel for a little while. I was aware that he was going to play against Wolves, but I did think Wolves were going to score. Spurs' defense was pretty all over the place, lots of injuries, including Forster in net. As it turns out, Pedro Porro didn't actually drop in value, and that was probably due to Jed Spence being suspended. So Porro was almost certainly going to play in that game, in which he did. But anyway, I did bring Robinson into the team, and I actually opted to play Dean Huijsen instead of Robinson. Now, my reasoning behind that was that both players do come with attacking threat, and both players typically do have pretty good clean sheet potential. They were playing against each other, though, and I was fancying Semenyo to score, so I ended up putting Huijsen in, hoping that Fulham blanked at home and I could just maximize my returns for game week 19. As it turns out, Huijsen came away with an XGI of 0.29 compared to Robinson's 0.22. So he did come away with ever so slightly more attacking threat in the fixture, but both players conceded 2 goals. With Huijsen completely blanking, coming away with 1 point, whereas Robinson did actually manage to get an assist for one of Fulham's 2 goals, which was a little bit annoying because that was almost bang on my safety score had I switched those 2 players around. Now, I also opted to play Rodgers over João Pedro, and I did that for 2 main reasons. Excuse me. First of all was Rodgers' performance against City 2 weeks previously, where he absolutely bossed that midfield. And in game week 18, Villa actually went down to 10 men, and so the performance that Rodgers put out in game week 18 wasn't really indicative of what he was likely to be able to do. Now, Rodgers did come away with 11 points, but João Pedro is sitting on my bench with 9 points, getting 2 assists and 1 bonus point in the 2-all draw. So I did field the right man, but I could have potentially put João Pedro in instead of Semenyo, but I was pretty much always going to be playing Semenyo against that Fulham defense. Now, Martinelli did come through for me in game week 19. He is my big differential. He's the player that I brought in for Saka as soon as Saka got injured 2 weeks ago. So this was actually the second time Martinelli was playing in my team. He scored a great volley, very well taken goal, and came away with the 2 bonus points in a game that actually consisted of 4 goals. So actually did really well on the bonus points there, only getting one attacking return. Isaac scored, seems to be pretty consistently scoring recently. Sorry, before in the Arsenal game, of course, my double clean sheet got wiped out by the none other than Mbumo, who has just been epically painful ever since I sold him a while ago to get hold of some funds. He's just gone on to keep scoring goals, which has been uber frustrating. Chelsea lost 2-0 to Ipswich, and this is largely due to Maresca making 5 changes to the starting lineup. I was not at all anticipating such a massive change to the first 11 at Chelsea. Potentially, I should have looked at this a little bit more closely, though, because, well, Ipswich is one of those teams, like way down the bottom of the league, where you would look to play, your second stringers if you are feeling like they did need some game time, as Chelsea probably should have had enough to be able to take Ipswich out. But 5 changes is pretty wholesale changes. I mean, that's half of the team that was rolled over in this match. So if Chelsea were actually still in Europe, I don't think this would have happened, and he would have actually ended up fielding one of his stronger teams for the Ipswich match. But Chelsea not having too much else to play for at the moment. The likes of Nkunku, I think he even changed Sanchez in net for Jorgensen, who gave away a penalty. What was there? Neto was. There was all sorts of changes. It just wasn't quite working for Chelsea on the day. Thankfully, though, I did captain Salah instead of Palmer. Anyone out there that captained Palmer over Salah got absolutely torn to shreds as Salah smoked the Hammers. Would have been a pretty tough watch for any of you Hammers fans out there, or worse yet, any of you who opted to go against Salah for captaincy. Salah came away with 1 goal, 2 assists, and 2 bonus points in the 5-0 demolition, but it could have actually been a lot worse. Now, luckily, Salah missed some pretty big chances that happened to be set up by Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I do not own, who came away with a clean sheet and a very lucky deflection goal, which he shot from about 24 odd yards outside the box, 24 yards out, so quite far out the box. Goes straight into the defender, takes a wicked deflection off his head, and goes in for Trent to come away with a 15-pointer, taking all 3 bonus points, and was one of the main reasons why I didn't quite manage my safety score this week. Cucurella conceded twice, got a 1-pointer, double clean sheet wiped out for Arsenal, and Jackson came on for a cameo for 1 point. My bench absolutely romped it home with Chalpetra on 9, Robinson on 4, and the unlikely Greaves, who's found his way back into the Ipswich starting lineup as they've shifted to 3 at the back, which actually works out to be more like a 5 at the back, kept the clean sheet. Against Chelsea. What's that? 19 points on the bench. I mean, the only good move here would have been, João Pedro out for Jackson if I had have somehow anticipated that Jackson was definitely going to be benched in that Ipswich game. But I do not think I would have taken that risk, even if I did identify it, because there was still a good enough chance that I think Jackson could have started that match. They ended on 73 points in Gameweek 19, which was 4 points shy of my safety score, dropping me, I think it was down like about 40k or something. It's 1.52 million. And we move on to Gameweek 20. Now, my team selection for Gameweek 20 is got some interesting choices here. Now, first of all, we'll address the Rodgers suspension, in which he picked up his 5th yellow card, and he ends up getting himself suspended for the Leicester City match, which is pretty frustrating especially considering João Pedro. So in my setup, I'm basically playing two out of Semenyo, Rogers, and João Pedro each and every week, with Semenyo and Rogers lining up with Everton at home and Leicester at home this week was looking really good. Of course, Rogers has got himself injured, and João Pedro is at home to Arsenal, which I do not really fancy. Now, Rogers' run of fixtures outside of this Leicester match, which he's suspended for, is actually pretty good reading over the next 5 game weeks, apart from this Arsenal away game in game week 22. So he's away to Everton in game week 21, home to West Ham in 23, who just got pumped by Liverpool, away to Wolves, who have been shipping goals, and then at home to Ipswich in game week 25. So that's actually a pretty decent run of fixtures for Morgan Rogers. I also picked him up for 5.1 million, and he's pretty key to the way in which Aston Villa attack. I mean, that game he played against Man City a couple of weeks ago just shows how good of a player Rogers is. And so there's no chance that I'm going to be selling him to just avoid this 1 week suspension. And so it really comes down to whether I want to play a 4-4-2 by benching Rogers and bringing in Dean Huijsen for his home fixture to Everton, who have been struggling to score with Calvert-Lewin and Beto up front, or play João Pedro against my double Arsenal defense, which I don't really like the look of. So I think this week I'm actually going to be playing a 4-4-2, which I think the first time this season, unless of course I've managed some sort of auto sub earlier on in the season. I don't think I've actually lined up my team to start out as a 4-4-2. But in order to hold Rogers, I think that's what I'm going to need to do this week. Now, I've got one free transfer for game week 20 and a whopping 3.2 million currently sitting in the bank. So I've got more than enough funds to do pretty much whatever I want this week. Now, Trent versus Konate, which is the title of this video. Now, for those of you who have been following the channel for a little while, I have said in previous videos that I don't think Trent is worth the additional outlay in that Liverpool defense. And the reason that I said that in the past is because you can pick up Konate at a mere 5.1 million, making Trent 2.1 million more expensive than Konate, who will be nailed on as soon as he's back from injury. 2.1 million is quite an outlay in terms of difference, which means that Trent would have to do some serious attacking damage for that 2.1 million difference. Now, I was hoping that Konate, when I said that a couple of videos ago, I was hoping that Konate would have already been back by now, because I would have loved to bring him into the team. But he's only just back in training this week and is very touch and go for a start this weekend. Now, Joe Gomez has done his hamstring, who has been playing in Konate's spot while Konate's been out injured. So that means that Slot is either going to field Konate if he's like fit and ready, or Jarell Quansah against Manchester United this weekend. Now, I don't think United have got a shit show of scoring this weekend. In fact, I think we're probably in line to get absolutely pumped by Liverpool in game week 20. Now, don't know exactly what Slot will be thinking, but I suppose the downgrade from Gomez to Quansah is relatively significant, especially considering that he will have to play Quansah as a centre-back in a centre-back pairing alongside Virgil van Dijk. So there is actually a slight worry. Well, there's a slight chance that Konate does start this weekend due to the Joe Gomez hamstring injury if Slot doesn't think that Kwanzaa is up to dealing with the United attack. And if I was to roll the dice on Konate hoping that he played, well, I'm already playing a 4-4-2, so if he doesn't play, that means I would get João Pedro in off the bench against Arsenal at home, or potentially look at fielding Greaves, which I do not like the sound of at all. But even if I did roll the dice on Konate, there's a chance that he does start and is rushed back due to the Gomez injury and redoes his injury, as he's already a little bit touch and go coming back this week. So it's either a choice of bringing in Trent this game week or doing nothing in my team, fielding this 4-4-2, which you see on screen, and looking to bring in Konate in a future game week. Now, there's no guarantee that Konate actually starts this week, and given he's been out since, I think it's about game week 12 when Konate got himself injured, I wouldn't actually be entirely comfortable bringing Konate into my team until I'd seen him play at least a full, well, not a full 90, but like a decent 75-minute appearance, just to make sure that he isn't going to re-injure himself in that first game back. And so if Konate doesn't start in game week 20, I'd need to see him start in game week 21, meaning I wouldn't be able to bring in any sort of Liverpool defensive coverage until at least game week 22. And with Trent's ownership already increasing and his price going up, I think it's just 1 week too late for Konate to be coming back. And so I'm actually looking very seriously at bringing in Trent this game week. Well, not seriously. I am going to be bringing in Trent this game week, and it's going to be for Cucurella in defense. Cucurella did score a goal for me in... Where did he score his goal? It was the game week he got red carded. So he scored in game week 16 against Brentford at home. They conceded, I think from memory, they also conceded late in that game. So they were winning 2-0. A goal from Cucurella plus the clean sheet. Clean sheet gets wiped out, and then Cucurella goes and gets himself sent off after the final whistle. He's then benched in the Everton match in game week 17, which is the only clean sheet that Chelsea have kept in the last 6 game weeks. I think it was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Aston Villa at home was the last clean sheet in game week 13. And every game week since, apart from the game that Cucurella missed, they've actually conceded at least 1 goal. The last 3 game weeks has been horrible, 1.1.0 points. He did get me a goal and an assist in the first couple of game weeks that I did own him. And it's actually been pretty unlucky because he has had some very decent opportunities to score. There was a diving header from a few yards out that comes to mind. I think that was in the Fulham game, game week 18. It's been pretty frustrating. I think it's time to ditch him. He's currently owned by 7%, so still a pretty big differential. But I think I'm going to ship him out for Trent Alexander-Arnold this week. That will leave me, I think it's about 1.1 million after I make the move. Yeah, so it'll leave me 1.1 million, which will allow me enough money to deal with Semenyo in game week 21. So this is Semenyo's last good game he's got at home to Everton this week. He's then away to Chelsea, away to Newcastle, home to Forest, who have been very, very good defensively all season and for big parts of last season as well. And then at home to Liverpool as well. I could potentially look at benching Semenyo for this 4-game week run, as the fixtures afterwards are pretty good. Southampton away, Wolves at home. Those two teams are shipping goals. Spurs are shipping goals. Brighton easily could score against. Brentford also shipping goals. Ipswich, West Ham. And these are all great games down here. But with my João Pedro, Semenyo, and Rodgers play 2 out of those 3 players, I do run into a bit of an issue in game week 22, where João Pedro is away to Manchester United, which isn't actually a terrible game at the moment. But Rodgers, I think, has got Arsenal in game week 22. Yeah, away to Arsenal in game week 22. So we'll have to play someone in a tough match that week, or play some sort of 4-4-2. So it's probably more likely that I'll be selling Semenyo, probably moving to someone like an Ismaila Sarr from Crystal Palace after their last tough game against Chelsea this weekend. And then I'll be probably hoping to bank some transfers heading towards game week 24, where we will start to look at using the new manager chip, but also the Liverpool double game week will be coming up with a pretty tasty potential double lining up, where I will be looking to use my triple captain chip, as I still have not used that so far this season. My captain for game week 20 is going to be Salah yet again. Like I said, I think United are going to get absolutely smoked this weekend. And I just do not see myself taking the captain's armband off Salah anytime soon. And all right, well, that wraps up this video. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And leave us a comment to tell us what you think. Good luck for the game week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.